Let's focus in on how you can help your student practice their reading skills. The time you spend practicing reading with your pupil, encouraging them and praising their efforts, will create a safe environment where they can learn and grow. Don't underestimate the impact you will have on your pupil. Something as simple as sharing your own enthusiasm and love for reading is a powerful tool. While we're not asking you to be an expert in phonics or early education, it is helpful to understand the skills pupils need as they work towards becoming better, fluent readers. Once children have mastered letter sounds, there are 4 components to becoming a proficient reader. The first is having a strong oral vocabulary. The second is mastering the code of the English language through phonics teaching. The third is being able to read a passage fluently. And the fourth is being able to comprehend that passage and having enough knowledge of the world to give context to what the pupil is reading. These are all interrelated, and during the course of the year, you will help your pupil build these skills. One skill we suggest you hone in on is fluency. Fluency is the ability to both understand the text and read a passage with limited or no sounding out of individual words at a reasonable speed and with expression so that it sounds natural. When reading fluently, the pupil doesn't need to expend too much processing power on a particular word and can think about the story in its totality. As we covered earlier in the training, children in UK schools are taught to read using a system called phonics. Phonics focuses on the sounds of letters in a word rather than their alphabet names, as it is easier for children to understand. Once a child has mastered the strategies taught in conjunction with phonics, they will be on their way to reading fluently. Remember that the child you're supporting will be using specific vocabulary in the classroom to help them identify parts of words and reading strategies during their phonics lessons. If you're able to use some of this vocabulary when working with your student, that can help guide them. This vocabulary can seem rather technical to someone who is unfamiliar with early reading instruction. We've included a PDF with links to videos about phonics and a glossary of terms in the knowledge base. Some schools also use specific reading schemes like Read, Write, Ink that have their own distinct language, so there are some knowledge-based resources that will help you with this too. When working with your pupil, you may find it helpful to use these terms. Here are a few examples of some of the terms pupils will be familiar with. The first is phoneme. Each letter sound unit is known as a phoneme. For example, the word snap has 4 phonemes: s, n, a, p. These are pure short sounds. The second is blending. Children will identify sounds and then blend or merge or push them together to make a word. When working with your student, try saying, "Let's work on the sounds in this word and then we can blend them together." Blending is a key foundational skill for fluent reading and one that lots of children struggle with. Next, we have digraphs and trigraphs. These are 2 or 3 letters which together make one sound, such as the E sound in the word seen or the I in sigh. There are 3 different types of digraphs: vowel digraphs like seen, tool, or sneak, consonant digraphs such as the sh sound in shine, and split digraphs. Split digraphs work as a pair to make one sound, but are separated within the word. Words like late or right are examples of a split digraph. Let's look at a simple sentence. I got a flag. The pupil will need to know I and a by sight. However, they are unlikely to know the words got and flag by sight. In order to understand the sentence, the pupil will need to know some kind of phonics strategy to sound out the word. The reading strategy that is used in all English primary schools is for children to sound out f or a, g using single sounds or phonemes and then blend them to read the word. So when a pupil comes across a difficult word, encourage them to use their phonic knowledge and blend the phonemes together to read the word. If your pupil is struggling to blend, support them to blend the first 2 sounds together and then blend the rest of the word. For example, in the word short, blend sh and or to make sure and then blend with the t at the end. Some people struggle to remember when to use which sound for a letter. Do remember that English has lots of alternative pronunciations. For example, the digraph CH can be said ch as in check, sk as in school, or sh as in chef. You will recognize that as an adult without thinking. But if a child is struggling with which sound to use for a particular letter or group of letters, encourage them to sound out the word and see if it makes sense within the sentence. If it doesn't, suggest they experiment with a different sound or alternative pronunciation. While we want pupils to give the word a try, we don't want them to dwell too long on a word they just can't seem to identify. Ask your pupil to continue reading the sentence and return to the difficult word. There may be a cue in the story that will help the pupil identify the word. If they still can't manage it, please do just read it for them. This is especially true for the challenge words that you will have identified at the start of the story. In addition to mastering decoding, blending, and sounding out, children also need encouragement to enjoy and understand the stories you read together. Asking questions about the story is a good way to see if your student is able to remember key points of the story. But helping a child develop their comprehension skills is about much more than asking questions to test their memory. Comprehension is about developing connections between what they have seen in the book and the world they understand. Can the student tell you about the story in their own words, or make connections between the story and their own experiences? How would they feel if they were a character in this story? Having empathy with characters helps create thoughtful readers. Not all stories include comprehension questions, but feel free to spend time asking your pupil about the story when you're finished reading. Did they like it? If so, why? You may also want to recap or retell a story at the end as a fun activity. It's a great skill for young readers to develop. If a story does include comprehension questions, they will be presented on your screen at the end of the story. The pupil screen will display pictures to help them remember what the story is about.